is a gorgeous fall Saturday afternoon here in Chicago, and two long-standing NL rivals will wrap up the regular season this weekend. This is the 2,400th all-time meeting between the Cardinals and the Cubs. This we know. The Chicago Cubs are going to the playoffs. They're trying to hold off the Milwaukee Brewers atop the National League Central. They have a one-game lead with two left. The Cardinals have to win their final two games and hope the Dodgers lose out in San Francisco, which would force a tiebreaker Monday in St. Louis for the final wild card. Great to have you with us from Wrigley Field alongside Hall of Famer John Smoltz. I'm Len Casper. John, we hear the term must win all the time. Literally, that's the case for the Cardinals today.
And can I just say I miss these games? I miss them a lot. The journey starts in March. It ends late September. And for the St. Louis Cardinals, they have a heartbeat. They need to play perfect these last two games. And as you mentioned, they need some help. And so on the mound, Miles Mikolas is absolutely the best pitcher that could be in this situation for the St. Louis Cardinals. Tremendous second half, undefeated in day games. He's going to be on the hill trying to give his Cardinals a chance to move into a situation that possibly could be a playoff. But like you said, they need some help.
From the Chicago Cubs standpoint, they've been in first place since mid-July, but they're trying to stave off a hot Brewers club, and they've basically not had an off day in over a month.
Well, the season's a grind, but for the Cubs, it's really been a grind of late. It's going to be 40 games in 41 days when this thing's all said and done, and they've got Cole Hamels on the mound. They went and got him at the trade deadline, made this huge move to solidify their rotation, and really, it's kind of like an adrenaline boost. And for the Cubs, to win today puts them in a great position, but it doesn't guarantee anything. If they want to win the division, they have to win 2 straight games.
That's right. Both teams need to win today and then do some scoreboard watching later today. All on the line. Cubs shooting for a division crown. The Cardinals just trying to stay alive. Fox Saturday Baseball from Chicago is next. Not a big factor, and the sun is out. Let's check in on Mike Schultz Cardinals Batting order, Matt Carpenter has had a big year against the Cubs. He'll lead it off. Martinez, DeYoung, Ozuna has been hot here these last couple of months. Yadier Molina, the 9-time All-Star, ahead of Jed Jerko, Harrison Bader. Jairo Munoz gets the start at second base against the left-hander Hamels. And Miles Michaelis is the pitcher. Cole Hamels has been very good as a Cub since he was acquired from Texas.
Yeah, you talk about getting the guy that helped your rotation get going, and now really more in order. The last couple starts probably not as good as his first 6 were outstanding. He's back to a 4-seam usage, or at least the concentration being that 4-seamer. Relying on a lot of cutters, back to who he was, as I mentioned, and solidifying the rotation. For a Cubs team that had such high expectation from their rotation, it's really the last 3 weeks that has got them in this point.
Here we go. Hamels to Carpenter. And low for ball 1 to get us started.
Well, for Carpenter, he was on a torrid stretch in the second half. Really cooled off, which has hurt his MVP chances, of course. But for the Cardinals, at least for the next 2 games, they need to get their offense back in rhythm. It has not been the last 10 days. And there's the numbers when you look at it. It's been an up and down, but historic stretch in the middle.
Almost with a 1-1. That's fouled out of play. We often try to kind of take a step back and look at the big picture, but that's not what it's about for the Cardinals. As you mentioned, Molina 0 for his last 9, Carpenter 0 for his last 11, Jerko 0 for his last 12. And a bounce to Daniel Murphy for out number 1. Let's take a look at today's 4 keys to the game.
Yeah, you know, it sounds like a simple formula, but it's really baseball, and it's really important for the Cardinals to get the lead and feel good about their slim hopes that they have. For the Cubs, keep grinding it out. Boy, what a grind it's been for the last 40 out of 41 days. This season will end with games and maybe not a bunch of healthy people. So the Cubs are looking to do something that hasn't been done in a long time in this organization.
Jose Martinez takes a strike. He started the year as the Cardinals' everyday first baseman, but he's been playing right field since early August. And Dexter Fowler went on the DL with a fractured foot. Both teams have battled injuries this year. It feels like everybody battles injuries these days.
Yeah, it's a long journey, man. For young players, and we have a younger generation type, star power. They have not been used to 162 games year in and year out. And it takes a while to get into that comfortable feeling of knowing, yeah, I'm a little mentally fatigued, maybe a little physically fatigued. But the adrenaline of importance in September is so huge for a baseball player. When you've been out of it, there's not really, you try to grind it out, but when you're in it, that helps.
Blown outside. 1-2 on Martinez. Things are very clear in the American League in terms of the playoff picture, but not at all in the NL. Martinez lines right to Rizzo for out number 2.
Murphy was trying to help out Rizzo, but Rizzo's a lot taller than Murphy. If we get a chance to see Murphy jumping for Rizzo, but Rizzo didn't have to jump. It's a natural reaction of somebody that can't do anything about it. Watch him. He's going to get him up. Get up! But Rizzo didn't have to.
Now Paul DeYoung is from nearby Antioch, Illinois. He takes high for ball 1. So when teams, John, are in a playoff race, and all of a sudden over a 2 or 3 day period they're not scoring a lot of runs, the easy answer is they're pressing, right?
Yeah, or fatigue. But I think the season of baseball is so much the streaks, and when you have them, 22-6 in August. Okay, I don't think any team saw that coming. But they knew a run was coming out of the Cardinals. It had been kind of a stagnant year, and of course they made a managerial change along the way.
1-2.
But what ends up happening is you give yourself a chance, and then you play the 3 most important series leading up. The Dodgers, they had a 4-game series. They lost 3 out of 4. Of course, recently getting swept by Milwaukee, and then, of course, the Cubs in this last weekend rivalry series.
Hamels back to work, and just off the inside, he thought it was strike 3.
2 weeks ago, doing some games, as we look at this pitch, an outstanding fastball on the inner part of the plate. I said the best thing that could happen for the Cardinals in the last 3 games of the season is the Cubs would have the division wrapped up. Unfortunately, that's not been the case.
And swinging a foul tip for strike 3. So Cole Hamels goes 1, 2, 3. Cubs coming up against Miles Mikolas. They put up 18 over their last 3, all wins. Murphy, Zobrist, and Rizzo at the top. Murphy's basically been their leadoff guy since he was acquired from Washington. Baez, Hayward, the former Cardinal, and Bryant in the middle. Ian Happ gets his start in left. Victor Caratini and Cole Hamels go 8 and 9. Miles Mikolas will look for win number 18.
Yeah, he's been outstanding since coming to the organization from Japan. In the last 15 games, 9 and 1. You see the outstanding numbers on the year. Strike thrower.
Yeah, 6'5", 220. And ball 1 on Daniel Murphy.
Well, here's the scouting report. He's a pitcher. I know you don't hear that many times today in today's game, but he is a pitcher. He's a guy that can throw any pitch at any time for strikes, and he keeps the ball in the yard. So yeah, his strikeout numbers are not real sexy, and maybe analytically that don't jump off the charts, but this kind of guy is what's missing in our game, and he's having a fantastic year for the Cardinals.
Murphy in the air to center. That's Harrison Bader for the first out.
You know my ex-teammate very well, and Greg Maddux, and he was the prototypical pitcher that got quick outs, didn't have to strike out the world, and certainly had a Hall of Fame career. And my fear in the game today is that we're missing out on opportunities to teach guys to do what Miles Mikolas has done. Now, granted, he went away for a while to kind of figure it out, but what a year he's had for the St. Louis Cardinals. Mike Maddux, of course, one of the best in the game, being Greg's brother, but totally different in the way we pitch today.
Outside on switch hitting Ben Zobrist. You would certainly put Kyle Hendricks in that category, who got the win yesterday for the Cubs.
And a refreshing 8 innings. Not that it has to happen all the time, and not that pitchers have to pitch 9 innings all the time, but somewhere between 5 and 9, that average number would be 7. We rarely see that. So many more components that it takes for a team to be successful. Of course, the bullpen is a hot topic, and both these teams have at times struggled with their bullpen.
Up the middle, and that'll squeak past Munoz. And Zobrist is aboard. Came in 6th in the league in hitting at .309.
Yeah, this ball just getting under the glove of Munoz. Yesterday's field conditions much different than today's. Obviously yesterday with the rain and cold temperatures.
Anthony Rizzo had the game-winning RBI yesterday. He's league-leading 18th. He's got 99 overall on the year. And one more here over these next 2 days, and he'll be the first left-handed hitter in Cubs history with 4 100 RBI seasons.
Besides the importance of the win, of course, Mr. Consistency in Rizzo, that's important to him, I would think.
No doubt. Especially for a guy who's been their leadoff man for like 30 games.
Yeah, it's expect the unexpected a little bit, but everything that Joe Maddon does from afar, you get to see him a little bit more, is calculated. It's not in a whim. It's not just to create topics of discussion. It's calculated.
Fly ball to right, and circling is Martinez, and he's got it. I mentioned the wind as we started. It wasn't doing a whole lot. Looks like it's blowing in off Lake Michigan, and as you know, the conditions here can change on a dime.
I tell you what, of all the years coming here, that's the first thing every pitcher checks, and it's the last thing every pitcher wants to do. Take batting practice and know that you personally can go deep at will. It's not a good feeling. I've actually stopped taking batting practice when the wind blows out because I don't even want to think about it anymore, and I take it in.
There's Javier Baez, big-time MVP candidate. Runner at first, 2 outs. We're in the first. Cardinals went quietly in the top of the inning. A swing and a miss for strike 1.
Well, he is, I mentioned, Miles, a strike thrower, but simple mechanics. Just looks like he's playing catch with the catcher, and what a great one it is in Molina. And I'm telling you, every pitcher's desire is to have a free, easy, repeatable delivery, even though he's out of the stretch. Watch how easy and stress-free it is. A lot of guys, when they get out of the stretch, even out of the windup, they fall to one side or the other. But he lands in a nice position, gets his legs under him, and then that just looks like he could field any comebacker back his way and fielding his position after he delivers the baseball.
Popped into shallow right. Munoz goes out, and he tried to cradle it, couldn't make the play. Zobrist will be sent by Brian Butterfield, and he will score, and the Cubs have the early lead. It was a sloppy game yesterday. As John mentioned, the conditions were not good. Both teams committed 3 errors, and when you're in an elimination game, those are plays you have to make.
Yeah, I don't know what the ruling is going to be on this, but it should be an out. And that's unfortunate for the Cardinals because their defense has not been as great as they would like or historically known for. That just comes out of his glove. Of course, Martinez is in there for his offense, and Zobrist, knowing with 2 outs, taking a gander back and easily scoring.
And they did give Munoz an error. So it's 1-0 Cubs. Here's Jason Hayward. One of your keys was the Cardinals to get off to an early lead, and the last thing they want to do is to play catch up today in a game they have to have.
Miles Michaelis had allowed a first inning run in his last 16 starts, and technically shouldn't have in his last 17, but defensively, you know, again, for the Cardinals over the last couple of years, it's been a slew of players that have come in and go, and you got some guys in for their offense and sacrifice defense, but collectively I think that's one thing they want to address moving forward in the next year.
0-2 to Hayward. Swing and a miss. So Michaelis able to get out of it after the unearned run scores on the Munoz error. So after one from Chicago, Cubs lead the Cardinals 1-0. Sponsored by Verizon. Now go mix and match family unlimited plans. Ben Zobrist reaching base on a single and scoring on a 2-out error by Jairo Munoz. So Cole Hamels working with a 1-0 lead here in the second. And a strange year for Marcell Ozuna in his first campaign with the Cardinals. He's had 3 bad months and 3 really good ones. And I guess fortunately for him, 2 of those have been August and September.
Yeah, he's been hot, as you mentioned, in the postseason. Dealing with injuries himself. Offensively starting to get hot, but boy, it's been tough to watch him in left field try to throw a baseball because of his shoulder injury, and I'm sure getting that addressed in the offseason will be much better for him.
Fouls off on the 2-0. It's 2-1. 95 that time from Cole Hamels on the fastball. Ken Rosenthal is with us with more on Marcell Ozuna.
Well, then I asked Marcell yesterday how he's doing with the shoulder. He said it still affects his throwing. That much is obvious. Also, he feels it on a full extension of his swing. So I said, okay, what's the answer this offseason? He said it's not surgery, just rehab.
Thank you, Ken. 3 balls and a strike. And he's a guy known as a very good defensive outfielder, but that has been compromised with the shoulder. Comes the lefty on a 3-1. It's a strike. That's Phil Cuzzi calling pitches behind the plate today.
Yeah, Ozuna is going to say that was the same pitch you called for a ball, and you could see that it was a ball, but now a full count.
He's got a piece of it. First 7 starts for Hamels as we check out the umpiring crew. Cuzzi behind the plate. The crew chief Tom Hallion at first. Dan Bellino, who's from Chicago, is at second. Adam Hammery over at third. Hamels did not give up a home run over his first 7 starts as a Cub as he strikes out Ozuna, but he has allowed 6 over his last 4. It's the first out here in the second.
Well, I love the trade, and you see the cutting action on that fastball. Analytically, it didn't look like the trade or the player was you're going to get the player that Chicago thought they would. If you just know from a veteran standpoint, injecting him in a winning situation, adrenaline, and all the things that come with postseason play that he has been through before, that's where analytics isn't going to tell you the story. And I think for the Cubs, they recognize their need. They went out and got it. He's delivered, and he's now a vital part of what hopefully will be a long run in the postseason again for the Chicago Cubs.
The 0-1 on Yadier Molina is in the air to left. Ian Happ is out there with his sunglasses on, and he makes a catch. Ken, what was the big adjustment Cole Hamels made when he came to the Cubs?
Well, the biggest adjustment had already been in progress. In Texas, he started working on his lower half, getting it in sync with his upper half, and getting everything back to where his release point was consistent. But to John's point, it's so interesting talking to Hamels yesterday. Of course, he has been in this position in big games many times before during his career with the Phillies. But now he says it's the same feeling. It's addicting. And it's something that you just never get tired of. John, you've spoken of this so many times.
It's the best feeling in the world. And if you're ready for it, personality, you can handle it. Look, our game's a game of failure, and if you're not afraid to fail, these kind of moments will be great for you. And I think there's no better feeling when you talk about the journey that starts in February and ends hopefully in late October and in some cases early November. If your blood doesn't boil and get ready for these moments, then you're not going to have that kind of career you hope to desire. And I think just injecting certain guys and taking them from a last place team to a first place team, and the resume that Cole Hamels had, I was not surprised at all by this turnaround.
Swing and a miss by Jed Jerko.
I'm sitting here today knowing that even though it's a regular season game and what's at stake, I miss it. Like, I miss that part. I don't miss the grind, the injuries, pitching through soreness, but the feeling of being on the mound and giving your team a chance, although be it turn it over to a lot of bullpen guys today.
Jam shot roller, and Bryant will get it to Rizzo in time. So Hamels 6 up, 6 down to start it. 1-0 Cubs in the second. Fargo established 1852, reestablished 2018, and by the well-connected 2019 MKC. Cardinals and Cubs. Second to final game of the regular season. The Cardinals are hoping for game 163. That's the best they can hope for, with 2 wins here and 2 Dodger losses in San Francisco as Chris Bryant fouls off. It's 0-2. Bryant coming back from a left wrist bruise, homering on Friday to straightaway center field off Adam Wainwright. His second home run this month after returning from a left shoulder injury, which had him on the DL twice. This has been a very trying year for Chris Bryant in that regard as he takes a called third.
Yeah, and in fairness to Chris Bryant, you know, physically he's not going to say anything, but he's not right. And when you're not right, his presence in the lineup means so much. And if he can get hot at all, it's the best chance that the Cubs have collectively to make a deep run, because it's anybody's ball game in the National League. But as many pieces that Joe Maddon likes to use offensively, they haven't been clicking. The power numbers have been down. They've had some statistical categories that might be misleading, but they're right where they need to be with a chance to get clicking for what, 2.5, 3 weeks. That's what it takes. But Bryant is huge. I mean, just if he can strike fear again in the opposing pitchers, the fact that that power might still be there, that'll be big for the Cubs.
Ian Happ gets the start in left. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Especially postseason time, I used to love looking at that lineup card, circling the guys that I said, and by the way, if it was a lot of guys, you were in trouble. But circling the guys that you were not going to let that particular guy beat you, and you were going to make stars out of somebody else if they were going to be heroes. And the postseason over the last 3 or 4 years has been filled with the theme of baseball strikeouts. The other thing I would look to in the lineup, I go, who can I go to when I need to for a strikeout? So there's a lot of things that when the pressure's on, a pitcher has an avenue to wiggle his way through that lineup card.
That pops it up. Shallow left, similar play to the one earlier in right. But this time DeYoung, the shortstop, is out to make the catch. Well, the stage is set. The lights are on as baseball's next generation chases October's crown. The Major League Baseball postseason begins Tuesday. Go to MLB.com/postseason for the full schedule. And a lot to be determined in the National League. Atlanta has clinched the National League East. The Cubs and the Brewers are in. The Rockies are in. They're trying to win the West. And it's the Dodgers and the Cardinals separated by 2 for the final wild card spot.
This is an amazing year for the National League. Of course, more competitively balanced than the American League. The American League is filled with the haves and have-nots for the most part. But you thought about when the Rockies went into L.A. and had that series get away from them. Well, the Dodgers are going to win the division. They've got the Padres and then the Giants, and all the Colorado Rockies have done since then is not lose, I believe. They've won 9 in a row. Is that right? 8 in a row.
Yep.
Great job by Bud Black and his staff.
Well, and they don't want to be in the wild card again.
No.
They went to Arizona and lost last year. So they'll look for their 9th straight win later against the Nationals. 1-2 to Caratini. Swing and a miss. Michaelis has been sharp early. Only an unearned run allowed. We'll return to Chicago after a word from your local Fox station. Better on Fox, starting in the Big Ten with number 14 Michigan taking on Northwestern, then number 11 Washington plays host to 20th ranked BYU. It all kicks off next on Fox and the Fox Sports app. And today's aerial coverage is brought to you by State Farm. Evanston just north of here, and that's where that game will be. Deep drive to right off the bat of Harrison Bader, but the wind knocked it down, and Zobrist makes the catch. The wind is blowing in the opposite direction. That's a home run today.
Yeah, you definitely, as a pitcher, you're going to pitch, to your environment, what stadium you're in. Of course, the lineup is the easiest thing to pitch to, but when you have certain parts of the ballpark, when the wind's blowing in, you change your plan of attack, if you will. There were days here where you could throw all fastballs and go ahead, see how far you can hit it up in the air. Unless you hit a line drive, you weren't getting it out of this park.
Here's Munoz to atone for the error earlier that led to the Cubs run. Now, Greg Maddux claimed he liked the wind blowing out here because it helped his sinker. Is that true?
Yeah, because if the wind's blowing out, you're going to have resistance against the thing that already does a lot of movement, which is a sinker that he would throw with no wind. So if the wind's blowing out, it's going to create even more movement for him. It's kind of like a knuckleballer. A knuckleballer, I would think, having some experience throwing some knuckleballs, you want to throw into the wind, which means the wind's blowing out for the hitter. Same thing I always felt with my curveball and slider, created more depth. Now the downside is if you made a mistake with those and it's the easiest pitch to elevate in the air, you were going to give up some home runs, no doubt.
Maddux was that good, folks. He wanted the wind to blow out. The 2-1, Munoz hits a line shot, and it's caught by Hayward. That was dipping, and he had to leave his feet to make the catch. He's a Gold Glove right fielder, but he's been playing a lot of center here lately.
Yeah, this ball changed directions off the bat, and as good as Hayward is defensively, he adjusted and made the play. I would say this is the hardest play for center fielders. Balls that are hit straight at you, and you can't really read off the bat to your right or to your left. And Hayward did a nice job. To finish the thought with Maddux, he at one time back in the day threw a four-seam fastball, pretty firm, by the way, 94, 95. They said he could reach with an overhand curveball. Imagine if he pitched today. They would ask him to throw 97 and do the same things, and he learned that that wasn't a good formula for him. He learned to sink the ball, get it on the ground, cut the ball, pitch, in essence, which led him to be one of the best of all times.
0-2 on Miles Michaelis. There's the aforementioned Kyle Hendricks, who gets compared to Maddux a lot.
Absolutely, and a dying breed in our game.
Michaelis swings and misses. Hamels perfect through 3. It's the Cubs 1 and the Cardinals nothing midway in the third from Chicago. Cubs with an unearned run in the first off Miles Michaelis. Cole Hamels homered in his last start, takes a strike.
I thought the Cubs, obviously not Cole Hamels, I thought they'd be a little more aggressive on first pitches in today's game because of Miles Michaelis is so good at being around the zone and throwing strikes, but he has made quality pitches. And with the exception of his defense, he's been equally as impressive as Cole Hamels has.
Hamels from San Diego, Michaelis from Jupiter, Florida. It's Chili Davis, the Cubs' first-year hitting coach. And Hamels strikes out swinging. Well, Ken Rosenthal, the last big game like this Miles Michaelis pitched was what, halfway around the globe?
It was, Len. 2015, his first year with the Yomiuri Giants. The opponent was the Hanshin Tigers, Yomiuri's biggest rival. Tokyo Dome was packed, noisemakers were loud, atmosphere electric. Michaelis had a big game, 7 innings, 2 earned runs allowed, and of course he remembered also an RBI double into the right center gap. Big win for Yomiuri in the opener, 3-2 over Hanshin.
So I wonder if next year will be a bit of a challenge for Michaelis. Daniel Murphy fouls 0-2 in that he went away for 3 years, came back. It's almost like a rookie season for him this year in terms of facing hitters, right?
Yeah, but what you find out about your team when you go through a stretch like this, the Cardinals have already found out some interesting thing about some young players. For the future looks good for the Cardinals. I don't think it's going to be an issue at all for Miles Michaelis, because not only has he been dominant, and we would be talking to him, by the way, about him in the Cy Young contention if it wasn't for 2 historic other guys that are going through it, you know, and Scherzer and DeGrom.
One served into right center. Bader will cut it off. Murphy has a 1-out hit. Go ahead, Ken.
Michaelis told us yesterday that last year in Japan, between spring training where they throw a lot more and the regular season, he ended up throwing about the same amount that he threw this year. So in terms of fatigue, he's feeling pretty good. And next year, sure, there will be adjustments, but the physical part of it, I don't know that that will be a problem.
Yeah, I agree, because he's so smooth. If there's nothing, you know, going on with his body that we can't tell, his mechanics don't make you feel like, oh boy, you know, that's a hard one to repeat, and it just looks effortless.
Line to Carpenter, and that'll turn into a quick double play as Murphy had straight off the bag. So Zobrist hit it hard, but for an out, and actually 2 outs to end the Cubs' third. After 3 and a huge game for both teams, 1-0 Cubs. he's faced to start this one. 2008 World Series MVP for the Phillies. They beat Joe Maddon's Rays. Here's Matt Carpenter for the second time. He takes a strike. Mentioned the strange year Carpenter's had. Got off to a very slow start, then was the best hitter in baseball. In the middle of the year, hitting under 200 over his last 40. On the ground, Murphy will backhand in the grass and make the play. What's Cole Hamels doing today to these Cardinal hitters, John?
I think we got a little interference.
Oh, we do. We got bad catcher's interference.
I was watching Carpenter run, and I said, that's unlike Carpenter to not really give that effort. And he knew as soon as he swung the bat that catcher's interference. So watch how tight the ball's supposed to be inside, how late he gets to the ball and catches the glove, and then realizes, all right, I'm going to be safe, and points back.
So that will be an error on Caratini, and the Cardinals have their first base runner.
Martinez is an interesting player, kind of feast or famine a little bit offensively. He can get on some incredible, you see the numbers, 304, 17 homers. Defensively, they don't really have a spot for him. They move him around and hope that offensively he can have more of an impact than a negative defensive impact.
2 balls, no strikes. So Hamels thought he had an out. Instead, working from the stretch for the first time, and 2-0 on Martinez.
This is where he excels. He likes to be ahead in the count, and a lot of hitters do. They command the opportunity to sit on one particular pitch.
Caught the outside corner, 2-1.
All right, so as a pitcher, I always wanted to see which side of the plate that I could get an inch or two, and it's obvious right now that on the outside part of the plate to the right-handers, Cole's going to be able to steal those 2 inches. So there's real no need to go inside much today.
3-1.
And I would always rely on my catcher, and I'd ask him, I said, you tell me where we're going to steal a strike or 2 if we can, and that's where I want to make the pressure and put the pressure on the hitter and the umpire to continuously be in that spot. And ideally, I always wanted it away because that was my sweet spot of being able to deliver a pitch.
Pretty aggressive swing on 3-1. He fouled it off.
And so what that does for Cole Hamels, when you think about the pitches he has, it brings the changeup in, because now he can start the changeup on the corner and fade it off the plate, put pressure on Martinez to attack it. The backdoor cutter that we've already seen him have success with, and the occasional curveballs that he'll throw.
Rizzo holds Carpenter's, not running on 3-2, and Martinez fouls.
Now, since coming here, Cole has pitched really well here at the friendly confines to a 1-1 record, but a 1.60 ERA, and he's done his best pitching for the Cubs when he's had the lead. And that's when you, as a pitcher and a veteran guy, know that given the lead, you want to lock it down. And much easier to pitch when you have the lead, in my opinion.
Runner takes off, ball 4. So the Cardinals have a threat here. 2 on, nobody out for Paul DeJong. Yeah, Hamels was 1-7 with a .641 in his home ballpark as a Ranger. That has totally turned around here in Chicago.
So early on, first pitch going to be very important. I would think that you got to be aggressive if you're Paul DeJong. Cardinals having their first scoring opportunity, only down 1, but you know that as the game goes along, you can't keep playing a perfect game. You want to have some room for error for the Cardinals. You've got to get some runs.
Murphy at the bag, so Hamels steps off. 19 home runs for Paul DeJong. Cardinals hit most of their home runs on the road. It's been a strange year in that regard. And he takes a strike. club record 122 homers away from St. Louis. 39 more than they've hit at Busch Stadium. Kick in the 0-1 off the inside corner. Talk about inning management all the time, and this is really where you make the big money, right? Getting out of these situations.
Yeah, you got to, as a pitcher, always tell yourself limit the damage. I mean, giving up a run here is not the end of the world. Giving up 2, 3, 4, different story.
Swing and a miss, 1-2. He had a start recently in which he gave up back-to-back solo home runs. And then another rally started, and he didn't give up another run. That was his best inning of the entire start, even though he allowed 2 home runs.
Solos never beat you. I mean, that's the theory. You know, you can give up 4. 4 solo home runs on most ball clubs, they can score 4 runs for you.
Pulled into left. That'll be the first Cardinal hit, and it will get them on the board as Carpenter scores, and it's 1-1. So they take advantage of the catcher's interference to start the inning, and still nobody out.
Yeah, it wasn't hit extremely hard, but I believe he goes with a changeup, and you can see the fade of the changeup and the swing up the end of the bat, and just enough in the left field corner to easily score the run, keep the runners on first and second.
And now Ozuna, who struck out his first time. He looks at a strike.
Cardinals coming in not too terrible with runners in scoring position, in the top 10 in baseball, so they've handled these situations pretty well.
All the way, you know, Ozuna does not want to let his former teammates down, because Giancarlo Stanton going to the playoffs with the Yankees.
Yeah.
Christian Yelich probably will win the MVP. He's going to the postseason, and to be determined for Ozuna and the Cardinals. That was a really good outfield in Miami, wasn't it?
I'm telling you, that's, you know, don't get me started on this, the fate of baseball and how we're building and tearing down teams, but you're talking about 3 teammates that have hit a ton of home runs for 3 different teams. I argued last year they were the best. I argued last year they were the best outfielders in baseball. You know, I mean, you talk about their potential, and of course now we're seeing it play out in 3 different teams. But you can kind of understand what the Marlins are doing, and Derek Jeter, of course, and trying to reset the roster and rebuild this thing from the ground up. But I thought this was a great move moving forward for the Cardinals. Everybody knows what the Yankees have benefited, and then of course Yelich, all he does is hit. But to see the power numbers and everything come through, where Milwaukee just, in their version, went all in. They didn't go get a starting pitcher, but they sure solidified their bench and offense.
2 balls, 2 strikes. Ken Rosenthal.
And you could understand they wanted to get rid of the contract. Ozuna, you could understand, he had 2 years left before free agency, and he wasn't going to re-sign there. They wanted to get as much value as they could. Yelich, with 5 years of control, that's the one that will stick out the most of those 3.
Swing and a miss, strike 3. Thank you, Ken. Got him on a change for the first out.
Well, this was an outstanding job by a veteran pitcher. Run in, first and second, nobody out. Cleanup hitter, their best hitter probably from power standpoint, and he just goes to work on the outside part of the plate. Then for effect, he gets them thinking in, right? In back-to-back, even though it didn't intend there, and he goes right back to where he wants to get him out, and that's away with a swing and a miss, and you can see the disgust. Now he's a pitch away from a ground ball double play with Molina at the plate.
First pitch strike.
I have tremendous respect for Yadier Molina, as does the league, and what he's been able to do, but he has been playing beat up. They've been trying to fight for their playoff lives, and it is shown statistically, I'm sure, for him at the plate, but what an unreal Not even close. Best catcher in baseball, in my opinion.
All-star for the 9th time. His second career 20 homers season. The longest streak of 100 starts behind the plate. 14 consecutive years. 36 years old. He recently passed Benji for the most home runs by a Molina. Always thought he was a terrific situational hitter too. He'll take his shots at a home run, but in an RBI spot, he's thinking right center usually.
Absolutely. And he knows keeping it off the ground is his only recipe of success in this situation. These are fantastic numbers, and a lot of people are convinced taking him right to Cooperstown. And he's elevated his game since his days in time under Albert Pujols, and once Albert left, I thought he took this offense to another level. His defense has never been questioned, and the way that he does the things that nothing can be statistically kind of analyzed is why he's so valuable.
And he goes after a high one, and Hamels strikes him out. 2 down here in the 4th.
Well, uncharacteristically, it chases a high fastball, trying to think up in the zone to get a ball up in the air, but better pitching.
That will leave it up to Jerko. Hamels now with 5 strikeouts.
He's enjoyed hitting off of left-handed pitchers, has Jerko.
Blocked by Caratini. This has been a combination Joe Maddon has used a lot lately. Caratini has caught Hamels now 8 of Cole's last 9 starts. A run in. The Cardinals have runners at first and second, 2 outs. And a tie ball game. Now Caratini will head to the mound. This is the time of year where fans of one team become fans of another for at least a couple of days.
Yeah.
And Cardinal fans will be rooting hard for the Giants, assuming the Cardinals can stay alive today.
Yeah, it's a little frustrating when you can't control your own destiny, but at the same time, you know, you put yourself in a situation that 2 months ago may not have even looked possible. So the Cardinals have made a lot of changes. They've introduced a lot of young players, and if you'd have told them 2 months ago, hey, you got a heartbeat come Saturday, I'm sure they would have taken it.
Strike called. It's 2-1.
And as the schedule worked out, and as I mentioned, you know, you're actually, if you're the Cardinals about 2 weeks ago, you really were rooting kind of for the Cubs to have this thing wrapped up, because it changes the way you approach these last 3 games from a Cubs standpoint. But because they're fighting for the division and they need to win as many of these 2 games, that's what you have.
On to a knee is Murphy, so Hamels gives up the tying run, but he keeps the game tied. We'll talk to his manager, Joe Maddon, when we come back. The dugout as Anthony Rizzo takes a strike. Joe, how much scoreboard watching have you been doing this week?
Oh, it's been about the last 2 months, actually. It's I'm a pretty good scoreboard watcher. Of course, more recently it's getting a little bit more intense, but I do it all the time.
Joe, having played this game a long time, and you've been in the game a long time, you can control what you can control, but the last 40 days have been a little out of your control, and there's really no way to complain, but you got to be proud of the way your team has handled this rough stretch.
Absolutely. Our guys have come through it pretty well to this point. That 30 for 30 or 30-31, and then, you know, we come home on our off day, we get at 6 o'clock in the morning and then have a day game the next day. So I could give our guys a ton of credit. We've actually played really well through the stretch.
Bullpen's okay?
Yeah, I think we got full complement today.
Thanks, Joe. Appreciate the time.
Okay, guys, well, get up there. There you go. All right.
Anthony Rizzo with a base hit to center. Do we have to pay Joe for that analysis of get in there, I think is what I heard him say?
No. But it is, you know, when you go through it, you never know when you leave spring training how the year's going to go, weather-wise, team-wise, physically-wise. And, you know, this has been a grind. And there's not a normal, this is not normal. You know, in 162 games now, players have more off days than ever before. Traditionally, it used to be 18. Then the weather early on, which was a crazy first month, it starts backlogging, and when you get to the end, you don't have that breathing room of those days off.
Baez swings and misses.
And we're not just talking about it's weird stretch where they went through, and you know that as well as anybody.
Two makeup games, a flight to Atlanta, a flight to DC for just one game. Now, on the flip side, the Cubs travel's pretty good. Middle of the country, a lot of games in Cincinnati and Milwaukee. I'm sure somebody sitting in Seattle saying, hey, wait a minute.
There's ways to try to hopefully in the future curtail some of this and make it a little bit easier. There's a lot of pressure put on a season when you have interleague early and you don't see that team, and you got to look for a date down the road when those games don't get played. So there's a lot of ways that we can look at the game in the future to see how we can make it not so dependent on early weather tendencies or perfection.
Well, this was the worst April weather-wise we've had in a long time, and the first year of the extra 4 days built into the schedule to help with the makeups, but you end up getting more off days than you want early, as you mentioned, and not enough late. While trying to, you know, make the postseason somewhat resemble what the regular season is like. You have travel off days, but 10 years ago we had way too many off days in October.
Yes, I totally agree.
2-2 to Baez is fouled away.
Well, Baez has been amazing. When I look at championship teams and I look at teams that make runs, you always have to have your good players or great players be great. Your good players be a little bit above that, and then the surprise players that you don't see. And what the Cubs have been able to do, even though it hasn't been a perfect year offensively, this guy has been able to take his game to another level. Why he's in the MVP candidate.
Knocked down by Molina. Today's powerful cleanup hitter is sponsored by Swiffer.
This is what you have when you are in the MVP conversations. You know, last year and the year before, putting Baez in this kind of situation would make him maybe more aggressive, expand the zone more, and that's what Joe Maddon was worried about. But now his maturity and, quite frankly, mechanical adjustments have allowed these kind of numbers to come to fruition. No one has questioned his power at all.
Into center, Bader will come in a few steps and make the grab.
What I always look at year to year is which guys can make adjustments and take their game, because the league will adjust against you. If it's a pitcher, the hitters are going to learn how to do certain things and vice versa. You have to be able in this game sustain those peaks and valleys and just not stay there. And it takes everybody. It took me a long time. We expect guys to make one-year jumps like they're supposed to be a veteran guy. It doesn't work that way. If you don't have the time and development in the minor leagues, you're asking guys to learn it on the fly in the big leagues. Very unfair challenge.
Now, the other thing about Baez, And I think this spoke to Chris Bryant's MVP year 2 seasons ago, is the fact that he doesn't just play one defensive position, and that's not easy to do.
That's why, to me, it may not be. It still should be pretty close. It is between those two for MVP consideration. Yelich has had the most lasting imprint in the last stretch that he's been through for the Brewers. But the fact that Baez has had to play crucial positions and multiple positions lends his value a little bit of a bump. And there's their head-to-head numbers on the year, and you can see just about everything the same with the exception of the average.
Swing and a miss by Jason Hayward. Ken, you want to chime in on the MVP race here?
Real quick, Glenn, it's just really difficult now to imagine Baez beating out Yelich after Yelich's amazing September. Yelich has him by 100 points in OPS. He's had this monster month. The Brewers are going to the postseason, as are the Cubs. And while I agree with the Baez positional versatility and how valuable that is, it just seems like Yelich has it now.
Ken, would you vote for a pitcher for MVP?
I have a hard time doing that, and I know there's some buzz right now about Jacob deGrom, but games played is one of the criteria, and a position player plays a lot more games than a starting pitcher.
All right, we have a former starting pitcher in the booth.
I totally agree with that. I don't believe a pitcher should ever, I mean, not ever, but really it shouldn't be in the MVP conversation unless there just is a down year for position players. I value a guy that plays every day way more. Yes, if a pitcher starts throwing 300 innings again, or 250 or 260, you can make that argument. But I just believe the pitchers have their award, and that's the Cy Young. And I think they have to be extraordinary. They have to do something that we haven't seen in a while, which, again, you can make the argument DeGrom has. But from an impact standpoint, on an everyday player is too valuable.
The 0-2 is hit in the air, shallow left, and that ball's going to drop in front of Ozuna. So Hayward has a bloop hit, and the Cubs have 2 on with 1 out.
Exit velocity is a big thing that a pitcher is known for, and this exit velocity is exactly the way you want it. Not very much. Gets a hit on it, though, and there's not much you can do about it as a pitcher. Once you release it, you want him to be able to hit the ball softly, and Hayward did, but gets rewarded. And a base hit in between the shortstop and left fielder.
Here comes Chris Bryant. Now, you would make an exception for a dominant closer.
Yeah, right. I think he has more impactful games on the whole. You know, you're talking about 70 to 78 to 80 times they can affect a game and impact a game. So I would make an exception to say he's closer to an MVP than a starting pitcher. And we've had starting pitchers and closers win the MVP, so it's not like it's impossible.
1-0 from Michaelis. Swing and a miss. We spoke earlier about the left shoulder injury for Bryant, on the DL twice. His first 3 seasons in the big leagues, he played over 150 games. One of 11 players in the history of baseball to do that, play 150 plus in each of his first 3 seasons. That ball, I believe, was caught. It was. And it's a double play, but that could have been a triple play. At any rate, they get enough outs to get out of the inning. I believe that ball was caught by Jerko on the fly. 1-1. State Farm. Beautiful shot of iconic Wrigley Field here on the north side of Chicago. Cubs have been playing here since 1916. 1-1 tie, 5th inning. Harrison Bader swings and fouls out of play.
You may be in the know, you know. Cover. Where are we? Is this phase 4 supposed to be
in terms of the renovations?
Yeah. When's that? Getting about 3-4 years from now? 3 years from now?
So the visiting clubhouse here and the press box are the last two things they need to renovate, and I think in the next year or two that will be done.
Okay, so
and at some point Wrigley Field is going to host the All-Star game again, so I think those two things will happen, and then the All-Star game will happen. Bader got hit by that pitch, so their 4th inning rally started on a catcher's interference, and the lead man on here in the 5th.
never feels good, whether it's 90 degrees or two paid for the price of that one. Looked like the top of his foot. Ugh.
So here's what I don't get very quickly. Fenway Park, Wrigley Field, you've got clubhouses that are decades old. You come in for 3 days and then you end up going to another place that has a beautiful, huge visiting clubhouse. Why not treat it as a player? Like, man, this is where Willie Mays got dressed, or Ralph Kiner, or Roberto Clemente, as opposed to, it's way too small.
Yeah.
I need room.
No, I hear you. I hear you. That's more. Maybe this will make sense. Maybe it's like you go looking for a house in your price range, and any good real estate person is going to show you your price range, but then they're going to show you a little bit bigger, a little bit outside, and you start liking. Right. And I think we've gotten used to the new age kind of Taj Mahal type locker rooms, amenities, technology, and maybe that has more to do with it.
2-0 on Munoz, a pitch taken high. Ken, did you get your steps in today walking up the stairs to the Cardinal clubhouse?
I did, Len, and here's the thing with expanded rosters in September. Right now, that clubhouse, the visiting clubhouse, is so cramped. 5 different sets of Cardinals are sharing lockers, 2 for 1. So you can talk about Hank Aaron and all the great players who have come into that clubhouse, but I don't know that the guys are too comfortable in there right now.
Fair enough. As Munoz draws the walk, so 2 on, nobody out for the pitcher Michaelis, who has homered twice this season.
The first one, I think, caught everybody just. I remember the reaction, and of course, that ain't no cheapie. And this one you can understand a little bit in Coors, but watch Mr. Rizzo on this play and how close he gets to the pitcher.
Bunted, foul.
I'm just telling you right now, it's unbelievable what he does, and he's not afraid, but I am not letting Rizzo get that close to me as a pitcher, and that's part of the strategy. If you can handle the bat, I don't think that Anthony Rizzo, and this is the meeting that's going to be going on right now, you cannot let him get that close. Now, in this situation, the reason they do it, to bunt, you want the bunt down the third base line. But what Rizzo's actually able to do is cover so much territory and actually make that play, which is unheard of and really a testimony to Joe Maddon and his outside the box type thinking.
He's 35 feet away, and Michaelis swings away and fouls off to the right.
And now, with 2 strikes, he's put pressure on Michaelis, but that's what you have to do. And you know what most pitchers do? They inevitably swing too hard when all they have to do is put the ball in play. In that situation, you practice it in the spring, you practice it during the year.
Charging again, and the bunt will go foul for a strikeout. So a forced strikeout, you'd have to say, by Anthony Rizzo.
I used to take so much pride in that part of my game, and you can see how angry he is, because that's the difference sometimes between putting your team in a better chance to get a win or drive a run in. And early on, I had to learn not to take that part out to the mound because of how frustrated I was. Because to me, bunting is the easiest thing in the world to do if you practice it.
There are some teams in the American League, they just don't do it these days. There's Carpenter. He takes off the outside corner. He leads the National League with 36 homers. He's hit 1 this month. 8 of his 36 have come against the Cubs, including 6 in a 5-game series right after the All-Star break. No Cardinal has ever homered 9 times in a single season against Cubs pitching.
It's been a theme for the Cardinals offense, hitting more homers on the road.
That's a strike. It's 1-1. Let's go back to mid-July out of the break. He had a 3-homer, 2-double game, the second such game in history. Chris Bryant did it 2 years ago. There was a game in that series, John. He didn't even start. He came off the bench and hit a home run. One and one on Carpenter. Here it is. It's a strike.
Yeah, it's all about when you catch this park at what time of the year too, and how hot you are. And with all this talk and launch angle and everything that goes on in the game, he has Carpenter, and the ability to lift the ball more is why his power numbers have gone up. But it's really been of late where his timing of the slump and the offense kind of go hand in hand. Unfortunately, not all on him and on Carpenter, but it's been a rough last couple 10 days or so for the Cardinals.
Borderline with Carpenter's way. It's 2-2.
Remember I said which side of the plate? That side of the plate is not going to err on the side of an inch or two. That one was a little bit more low than probably on the side of outside the plate. Inner half in this case will be the more lenient side.
Long look by the lefty. A spin move just to let Bader know he's paying attention.
And again, the other thing we don't see anymore is stolen bases. And I thought that Hamels was paying so much attention to Bader at first that it affected his pitches to home plate, which actually ended up being a walk. That stress on a pitcher is real, but you've taken that away from him in today's style of baseball.
Carpenter into center. That's a base hit. Bader around third. Here comes the throw by Hayward. It's late. Throw will go to second. That is in time. Caratini to Baez. But the Cardinals have the lead 2-1.
I'm telling you, Baez just did it again. This is not when the delay for Caratini to go to second. We'll see the replay. If Baez is not making the tag, I don't think anybody else gets him. And of course, when Hayward throws home, but this quick tag, see how he gets up the line to make the tag? I mean, that's just instinctive, and that is what makes him so great of a defender. If you wait at the bag and don't anticipate the head push slide and get ahead of it, of course, Carpenter didn't help himself. Carpenter didn't help himself with that slide. But here's the art of tagging. You saw this. It started in the World Baseball Classic. This is a gift. This is not showmanship. This is a gift, and just incredible instincts.
Foul strike on Martinez. He also lets that throw get deep.
Yeah, when you can do that, this was not a great slide. Of course, he's trying to get down and get his arms. Watch how it eats him up. it just almost is counterproductive to be able to go into the bag that way. But
Carpenter's fortunate he didn't injure himself. That is Matt Carpenter's first hit with a runner in scoring position in over 3 weeks. For his last 14 prior to that big hit. They give the Cardinals their first lead of the series. 0-2 on Martinez.
very active guy in the box, meaning he's got a lot of action and looking to hit the ball over the scoreboard. A lot of movement, a lot of aggressiveness. Big guy at the plate that has been hot at times for the Cardinals.
Not hit hard, but Murphy has some time, and that will end the Cardinal fifth. But they have scored in each of the last 2 innings and lead 2-1 in the fifth. Boost Mobile. Get the best value in national prepaid wireless. Easy to switch, easy to save. John Smoltz, Ken Rosenthal, Len Casper with you here at Wrigley Field. Cardinals lead 2-1 on Matt Carpenter's 5th inning base hit. So the Cubs will bat against Miles Michaelis in their half of the 5th. A strike called on Happ. We talked to Mike Schilt, John, before the game about how he's going to handle this, and he'll ride Michaelis as long as he can. He does have a full complement of relievers. No Bud Norris, a hamstring issue yesterday, but it's tricky, right, in a winner-take-all game for the Cardinals in that they have to win to stay alive. I don't think he's too keen on going to his bullpen very early.
No, and he shouldn't be. You know, it's interesting when you think about this time of year, or just even thinking forward to a wild card 1-game play-in. It's so anti what the season is. It makes managers nightmares.
Swing and a miss, strike 3 as Happ was way out in front.
So look, the Cardinals percentage-wise have a lot of things that have to happen. So it's the elimination game. There's no doubt about it. And the tendency is in an elimination game from a managerial standpoint is once you get down or you manage totally different. And your best pitchers on the mound, you've got to have some patience that he is going to continue to be your best pitcher. Now, if he shows you otherwise, you do have to go to your pen. But I would think where it's the biggest challenge is, let's say in the 5th or 6th, the pitcher comes up, you're down 1. Where in the regular season, you would never pinch hit in that situation. You're more managing to the questions that you're going to be asked, in my opinion, today more than ever. Analytically, you name it, situationally, and I think that's where the game has changed.
1-1 on Caratini. Well, let me throw this wrench into the situation. What if the Cardinals have a 1-run lead in the 6th? The bases loaded, nobody out, and the pitcher spot coming up.
Then you hit.
Then you hit.
Yeah. Because now you got a chance to break the game open. You know, especially with a more professional hitter than a pitcher who could. But I still maintain that in this day and age, and we watched it last postseason, watched it 2 postseasons ago, especially with the Cubs and the Indians.
As he played for Michaelis. The MLB postseason begins Tuesday with the NL Wild Card on ESPN, and Wednesday with the American League Wild Card on TBS. Then Thursday, the National League Division Series begins on FS1 and the Fox Sports app.
So the thought of this National League coming down into the probably one, you could say, one of the most competitive National Leagues we've seen in a while. But to finish the thought that I had, I'm not saying that every decision should be made this way. But if you put me in a position to make certain decisions as a manager, it would be, I'm not making a decision that makes the other team happy. I am not taking a guy out that the other team goes, thank you very much. We had no chance, but analytics says, or numbers say, it's time to take him out, bring in this guy and the formula for success. So I'm just saying I wouldn't make every decision like that, but I would be a heavy part of it.
Well, right now, it's an easy decision for Mike Schilt. 2-1 Cardinals after 5. By Toyota, let's go places. And by MasterCard. It's the last weekend of the regular season. You can stream every live out-of-market game for free on MLB.tv. Simply log in with an MLB.com account to watch live on any supported device. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.tv. I was watching on the app last night as the Brewers gave up the lead late and then won it on a Ryan Braun opposite field home run in the bottom of the 8th. There's Paul DeYoung. Cardinals lead 2-1 in the 6th.
For whatever reason, statistically, this inning has given Cole some issues, but then after this inning, he's been outstanding when he gets to the 7th inning and beyond.
0-2. Heard Joe Maddon tell us his bullpen is fresh after he got 8 innings from Kyle Hendricks yesterday. Pedro Strop is still out with a hamstring issue. We're hoping he's back for the playoffs as DeYoung takes a call third. Brandon Morrow, their closer, done for the season with a bone bruise in his right arm. He hasn't pitched since before the All-Star break. Yet the Cubs have the best bullpen ERA in the National League.
Yeah, it is quite amazing. That takes a lot of work every day when you don't have your prototypical guy. And when bullpens work at their best, not saying you can't piece them together, but when they work at their best, it's the last guy that is the most consistent, and that's your closer.
Ozuna shoots one into center. After striking out twice, he has a base hit. And with more on Pedro Strop and the Cubs injury situation, Ken Rosenthal.
Good news on that front, Len. Strop, according to Joe Maddon, is getting really close, and it's highly possible that if the Cubs make it to the division series, he could be on the roster. I saw Pedro before the game. He had a big smile on his face. He said, "I don't think I'm missing the playoffs."
Well, he got hurt trying to run out a ground ball as he was going to stay in to pitch the ninth in the makeup game a couple of weeks ago in Washington. Actually, it was an extra innings game in D.C. I think what happened here, John, is he thought the throw's not coming yet. I might beat it out, and it was that last little lunge that got him.
Yeah, I hate to see it. Looked like a pretty good swing, by the way.
He's a former middle infielder.
That's the one. That's my biggest pet peeve. One of my biggest pet peeves, but
you have a few.
I have a few. The injury rate in baseball just doesn't. No one wants to address it. It doesn't seem like no one wants to address it. Maybe because there's so many people that can kind of pick up the slack. But at the rate that players are having injuries, there has to be a common cause and a reason that you could do something about it and change the course of where we're headed. I don't know, maybe it's training, maybe it's travel, maybe it's a combination of a lot of things that you just can't put your finger on, but I know the training has changed. I know there's not much running as much anymore from a pitching standpoint.
That's true. As Molina skies one down the left field line, and the wind will push it out of play.
I mean, to me, that's the most obvious. It's the one fundamental thing that we were always taught. Your legs should never be an issue as a pitcher, ever. You're basically being paid to be in shape physically, and you don't have to look like Adonis, but you should be able to run and not get tired physically. Mentally, you should get tired because it's a long year and you pitch a lot of stress pitches, but I think we've kind of gotten smarter, but at the same time with technology gotten bigger, stronger, faster, and just more injury prone.
0-2 is high. A tough guy to strike out. Molina did strike out his last time up. Well, we have more DL stints now because it's 10 days instead of 15. That's the other part of the equation.
Yeah, and I get that some of this, you know, let's be honest, they're not really injuries. So, but I'm just talking overall, the injuries that are popping up and causing players to miss significant time, and you're asking teams to have a roster full of a minor league full of, and I will grant, you know, more players available, but that would bother me if I was running a team seeing the DLs.
2-2 on Molina. Dexter Fowler with the foot injury. Michael Wacha done. Alex Reyes, they were expecting big things from him this year. Back surgery. And Molina just got clipped. Second hit by pitch for Hamels today.
Well, obviously trying to get the ball and bury it in, and that ball overcuts, hits the pad, it looked like, for Molina. And now another opportunity with runners in scoring position for the Cardinals to extend the lead. The more breathing room for them, obviously they feel a lot better in a must-win game.
And oh, by the way, if they do have a lead late, Carlos Martinez in their bullpen. Pitch to Jerko is in there for a strike.
It'll be interesting to see how that translates after this offseason and what their plan is for one of the, you know, talented starters for most of the year for the Cardinals. That, again, injuries and things have taken its toll and changed the role.
Sounds like they would like him to be a starter again. But right now, they're focused on this game alone. Bryant will get it to Murphy, and the relay will be late. Bryant chose to play back on that ball, so they're only able to get one. And it'll be first and third for Bader with 2 outs.
Well, rather than getting in between, he takes the bigger hop and knows he's going to get one for sure. And then Murphy, knowing what the slide has to be, not going to be touched, he can take an opportunity to throw it to first and hope to get it, but
so it will be Bader. Not to get too far ahead of ourselves, but whether the Cardinals win or lose today, it's everything. If they win, they're still alive, and they have to hope the Dodgers lose later. As Bader bunts with 2 outs, Hamels will get him. And Ozuna actually went back toward third, which was kind of odd with 2 outs, but it doesn't matter. 2-1 St. Louis in the 6th from Chicago. Field, huge game for both teams. Cardinals lead 2-1. Daniel Murphy batting for the 3rd time against Miles Michaelis, and a first pitch strike. So to finish my question, Cardinals win, Dodgers lose, Cardinals still are in the mix tomorrow. If the Cardinals are not in contention, do Mike Schilt, you play your normal lineup because the Cubs are still trying to win a division?
yeah, you have to. I mean, that's kind of old school. I know we've gotten away a little bit from that. But you have to, in the integrity of not only the league but it's not that we haven't seen people choose not to do that as well.
Floated into right for a base hit. Murphy 2 for 3. He's got a 9-game hitting streak, and then the tying run on with nobody out.
I actually was part of that very situation. I believe in 2006, the Cardinals had a 1-game lead on the Houston Astros. They were set to start Carpenter. I was shut down for the year. But then I realized that that game mattered. Decided to pitch. We won, which eliminated the Astros. The Cardinals went on to win the World Series. So I think there's enough people in the game that still have the mindset that finish the year out. Now, if there was 10 days to go, that's a different story.
It's also Cardinals Cubs.
Yeah.
I mean, that on top of everything else.
Well, for Miles Michaelis, I can't speak to the year that he's had. You see the first pitch strikes. We told him he's a strike thrower. He's had 4 undefeated months. 4. And if you give him 3 or more runs on the campaign, he's 16-0.
A fly to left. Ozuna back on it. He'll have plenty of space to make the catch for the out. So that's out number 1. And now let's send it to Mike Hill in the studio. Thank you, Mike. First time ever strikeouts will exceed hits. Unbelievable.
We ain't got enough time for that conversation. I can tell you that right now.
There's Rizzo. Michaelis, by the way, is 9-0 on the road this year. Trying to make it 10-0 on the road Gray.
That's amazing. I mean, just a lot of things about his year is amazing. He's undefeated in day games, undefeated on the road, undefeated in September. You know, so the right guy for the right situation for the Cardinals for what they're having left. Their hope is on the mound today.
Slide step in the pitch. Curveball misses outside on Rizzo.
That is quite an accomplishment to go on the road, which everyone has to do, but to go undefeated. And like I said, when you give him any support at all, he hasn't lost a game.
Rizzo in the air to right. Martinez going back on it. He'll get to the track. And he puts it away. Murphy back to the bag. And the wind held it in. The stage is set. The lights are on as baseball's next generation chases October's crown. The Major League Baseball postseason begins Tuesday. Go to MLB.com/postseason for the full schedule. Cubs have the best record in the league, but that's still up for grabs, as is the National League Central. Cardinals 2 back with 2 to go, including this one today, for the second wild card spot. You're trying to dig into your division series prep, but you haven't been able to quite narrow it down yet.
Still questions of where, when, who, how.
One strike on Javier Baez. Now 1-1. Hayward on deck. Cardinals took the lead on a Matt Carpenter's single in the 5th. Nicholas has the sign from Molina. Here's his 1-1, and that got the bat of Baez. Didn't mean to, but it's 1-2.
That makes an impact to a hitter who's trying to attack the fastball, and of course it rides in and he can't get out of the way, and now that's a strike. So now Michaelis can go away with a breaking ball if he wants, expand that zone, which typically for Baez has always been the weakness. And the problem I think that pitchers are facing Baez, throwing him way too many breaking balls, and his ability to stay off them this year is a big reason why he's been successful. Show him too many.
1-2, and he pops it up off the end of the bat. This will be the 12th out recorded by Michaelis in the air or on a line. Only one ground ball out. 2-1 St. Louis. We'll return to Chicago after a word from your local Fox station. Starters are still in there. Cole Hamels to Jairo Munoz and a foul strike. Miles Michaelis in a must-win game is standing in the on-deck circle in the 7th inning. Bryant was playing in. He will throw out Munoz.
All right, I need a favor from you.
Okay.
If I do come back and cover the series in Chicago, I need you to hide or eliminate the brownies that I cannot stay away from.
Yeah, a little peek behind the curtain. I don't know if you can see it, but he's on his 4th brownie in the press room.
And I hope.
And he told me it's small.
They're
it's
small.
Not real small. It's pretty big.
They're really good, and I hope my wife is not watching because I'm not supposed to have this many.
Let's run an extra 4 miles tomorrow. It's all good.
Running used to be shagging only. I do not like to run for the sake of running. I need to chase something or be playing something.
1-1. Michaelis in the air to center. Hayward back now in. Hey, Thursday, we've got a huge early season matchup as Andrew Luck and the Colts going to Foxborough to take on Tom Brady and the Patriots Thursday at 7:30 Eastern on Fox, NFL Network, and streaming on Prime Video. A couple of Michigan boys crow about the Lions getting their first win Sunday night.
Oh, no, I just got reeled back in, suffering Lions fan. die hard want to see one day on the bucket list, just one day. They don't even have to win. Just show up to a Super Bowl. Just happen to be at a Super Bowl where they're playing, because it's never happened.
Your favorite Lion all time?
Barry Sanders. I mean, that was must-see TV.
We have to bring it back to baseball. Matthew Stafford was Clayton Kershaw's catcher, and Kershaw was Stafford's center.
Hard to believe.
High school.
That's
Isn't that great?
unbelievable to think about.
2 strikes on Carpenter. He gave the Cardinals the lead in the 5th. Tapper foul as he's able to fight it off.
Carpenter, one of the rare guys that does not use batting gloves. You don't see that very often.
It's Steve Cishek. He's been very busy this year. He's up in the Cubs bullpen. Called strike 3. So Hamels keeping his team in the game. 7th inning stretch from Chicago. 2-1 Cardinals. Starting pitchers have definitely been the story today. Miles Michaelis in a must-win situation, still working in the 7th. Cole Hamels got through 7, and it looks like he will turn it over to the bullpen in the 8th. Ball 1 on Hayward.
You mentioned, not a lot of balls on the ground, but a lot of outs, and not a lot of strikeouts by Miles Michaelis in today's standards. And that's the one thing that I think he's proving, that you can pitch and throw strikes, you can be economical and get outs, even in a launching era, launch angle, home run, swing up.
Stay out of the middle of the barrel. He's gotten a lot of weak contact, including the run the Cubs scored. It was a blooper that should have been caught.
And just to show you what a rarity, you mentioned it, and I've made my adjustments. I get it. Pitchers don't pitch 220 innings, this, and that. If he gets 3 outs in this inning, do you know the percentage of pitchers in a game that pitch 7 innings each in the entire baseball season?
Both starters going 7.
Both.
Right. It's got to be minuscule.
4.4%.
Strike 3 as he gets Hayward.
So that's roughly, I was pretty good at math, 106 out of 2,398.
So 106, it's about 4 per week. That's it.
That is, and that's the one, trend that we're seeing really reverse itself. But the bigger point I want to make is organizations, there's going to be a couple organizations that are going to have to zig or zag when everyone's zigging. And what I mean by that is teach more of this. That's a commodity that can be taught. You can't teach a 100-mile-an-hour arm. We're trying. We're doing our best. We're training for it. But this guy, Kyle Hendricks, and even, it's just fewer. That's the next, I think, the next journey a club, an organization is going to say, you know what, this is how we're going to change when everyone's going in this direction.
So can you teach the next Kyle Hendricks? That's the question.
I think it's way more teachable than the next Noah Syndergaard.
Yep. Strike on the outside.
But the reason that youth baseball is going in the direction it is because this is what the reward system we have for it. So, that's what they're training for. Scouts are seeing pitchers, but they're getting passed up because they don't have certain sexiness to them or velocity behind it. Adam Wainwright on the last year of his contract, coming back from the injuries that he did, looking possibly to pitch one more year, and he knows how to pitch. He may not have 95 anymore, but he can spin it.
Bryant with a fly the other way. Martinez on the warning track, and he's got it. So Michaelis giving up fly balls, but for outs in the wind. Today's telecast is sponsored by IBM. Let's put smart to work. And by USAA Insurance, banking and investments tailored for the military community. Busy afternoon for Jose Martinez.
A lot of interesting routes for Jose Martinez, I'm sure. We've talked about defensively trying to find a spot for him, but
you want that bat in the lineup as much as you can. His hat pops it up. Third base side, easy play, Jerko and foul ground. Miles Michaelis through 7 has allowed just 1 unearned run. It's 2-1 Cards. He's through 7 on just 87 pitches. And a former Cardinal, Steve Cishek, will work the 8th here for the Cubs in a 2-1 ball game.
He's been big of late, as we mentioned, how the numbers for the bullpen's been good for the Cubs.
Career high 78th appearance for Cishek. 1 strike on Martinez.
You know, we talked about renovations earlier, and that's one of the renovations took me a while to get used to. That the bullpen's obviously underneath the stands, and I can't get enough. Look, there's a lot of things that, you know, I may not like in the celebration. I can't get enough of what they do in the bullpens when their team does something special or scores runs or hit a home run. So, but early on, it took the relievers some time to get used to the transition from controlled environment to not so controlled environment out on the field. That would mean weather.
Yeah, I think the home guys grew accustomed to being on the field because the fans were pretty good to them. Visiting bullpen,
yeah,
trust me.
Trust me, I could say that was a challenge.
1-2 fought off foul.
You know, the biggest thing I didn't like when I was out there in the pen is the fact that I could throw the ball away so easily and interrupt play like that. I saw too much space. It really did bother me throwing in the bullpen without any kind of, you know, the ball could go right on the field and stop play.
I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but I heard stories of occasionally a sign going out to somebody in the bullpen, uncork one here because we need a little stop in the action.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah. Got to call time. Ball rolls behind the backstop. See, we would just build that into mound visits now. Only 3 wild pitches. Good effort by Rizzo as he ends up in the stands.
The only break in the wall there that he could fit through.
He has scaled the tarp before to make a catch. That time he tried a Jeter right into the stands.
Well, look at the gap here with once he gets in between after the tarp, where the wall, and get a better look right here. So where the gate is. That's a big man.
He had one taken away the other night. A foul ball near the dugout. Yep, got to be alert. So you're sitting in the front row, you're a Cubs fan. Foul ball comes right to you. Are you clearing the way for Rizzo, or are you trying to make a catch?
I am clearing the way.
Emergency hack by Martinez. Still 2-2. Eight-pitch sequence. Young and Ozuna to follow. Here it comes. He went for strike 3. Play ball is MLB's initiative to inspire all forms of baseball and softball participation, making play opportunities available and fun for everyone. To learn more, go to playball.org. A 1-run ball game here in the 8th. DeYoung got under one. And it's Ian Happ for out number 2.
So what do you think? The point decimal, did it go up to 4.5% after we just talked about the 2 pitchers pitching through 7?
Yeah, it happened today. How often will it happen in October?
Almost never. They're so anxious to, there's still certain formulas. And look, I've now gotten a chance to see the game from this view for the last 9 years. And tremendous performances, tremendous athletes. I'll finish it next time.
Charged by Bryant. He will barehand, and he gets Ozuna. It is now 4.5%. Very nice. You're a math whiz. Looks like Michael is back out there as the Cardinals lead 2-1. Excellent defensive work by Chris Bryant. A man can get, and by Miller Lite. Great taste and only 96 calories. Cubs hoping to play deep into October, but winning the division would help them a lot in avoiding possibly a game on Monday against Milwaukee if they tie with the Brewers for the division, and or a wild card on Tuesday. Cardinals have to win today to stay alive. A lot at stake. 2-1 here in the 8th, and the 0-1 to Caratini is low for Michaelis.
And one of the greatest rule changes that have come about is that tomorrow's games will all be played at the same time, and that keeps the competitive advantages all at neutral, and you can't wait to adjust who you're going to pitch or what you're going to do based on time.
Hit hard and knocked down by Carpenter. Michaelis to the bag for the out. Yeah, so the West Coast games start a little earlier than normal. East Coast games in the middle of the afternoon tomorrow.
Well, this is a great play all the way around, and as a starting pitcher or any pitcher, you cannot assume, and you got to get over there. Carpenter does his part, and you see Michaelis is not going to let the batter beat him to the bag. You have a more direct route. Totally in command has he been, and that's the way he's been all year. It has been a pitcher who has gotten the most out of his mechanics, the most out of his pitches, and he seems to have completely changed as a pitcher after coming back from Japan.
So Tyler O'Neill now playing right for Martinez. Tommy La Stella off the bench in the pitcher spot. Bounces one foul. Stella has the Cubs record 24 pinch hits.
But just watch the presentation of Yachty and just the area that he throws the ball in, Michaelis, it's amazing how connected they are and how easy he gets the ball into the presentation. Now watch what they'll probably throw a breaking ball here. And exactly, well, he wanted to break the ball. He's going back to the fastball in. And just one of the best in the game in getting his pitching staff through a game has been Yachty. He's so prepared, obviously durable, plays in just about every game. Now to the breaking ball.
Two and two on La Stella. Daniel Murphy on deck. Cubs grab the lead. An unearned run in the first inning. That's been it. Cardinals with a run in the fourth to tie it. Took the lead in the fifth. Carpenter again. Michaelis again at the bat. Let's take a look at today's Gatorade proven performance from Miles Michaelis.
Yeah, it's been outstanding. He's covered every quadrant. He throws every pitch anywhere he wants for the most part, and he keeps the hitters guessing. And it's not just rear it back, throw it through the strike zone. He's pitching around the strike zone, in it when he needs to early. And I just love the mixture that he has brought to this not only staff, but really what he's shown and going to show some of these younger pitchers that they are bringing up, and with promise for the Cardinals in the future, their rotation looks like it could be in really good shape next year.
He has definitely pitched to your scouting profile from earlier today. 0-1 on Murphy. He's got 2 hits. He's heating up again.
And the one thing that he's done also is, Michaelis, there will never be a problem if there ever has to be a pitch clock in the game, because he gets it, he goes, keeps his defense fresh, although his defense and the defense of the Cardinals has not been great in these couple games here.
Fly ball the other way. It's deep. Ozuna on the track. Has it. So Michaelis pitching to the conditions today has been brilliant. We go to the ninth, 2-1. Through 8 innings. and a 2-1 lead. And they're getting some handshakes and hugs, which usually indicates he's done.
A little surprising, to be honest, but that would be all signs towards typically that he would be done. And
yeah, he's got the pose now, doesn't he?
When the pitcher comes up and sits up at the top step, he's now a spectator, because you don't really do that for the most part when you're locked into the game.
Jesse Chavez has been a godsend for this bullpen. Coming over from the Texas Rangers. Molina 2-2 now. Or the mid-season acquisitions for the Cubs, in particular, Hamels, Chavez, Murphy, have been huge.
They really have. And you know, let's face it. I mean, you have ideas when you build your club out of spring training, and some of those didn't work out. Some of those moves to this point have not worked out. Of course, Darvish, Chatwood are some of those that you would think, okay, long term, you got to believe they will. But when you make those moves at the crucial time, it injects and infuses adrenaline into your club. Because you know what I say, that you know, I can be on this side now, and as a player you're asked, you never expose your weaknesses. But every player knows it. He knows what this team's good or not good at, and you hope to hide it as long as you can, and the club makes and addresses it and kind of helps clean it up.
2-2 foul by Molina. Chavez has been effective and durable.
Well, the crowd has not had a lot to cheer about with offense, so look at this action that they've been excited about. The effort. They're rooting for foul balls right now. We need one more.
See, if starting pitchers only ran as much as he did.
See? You nailed it. And somebody's going to be picking up on that.
Just foul to third. Mike Schilt had a few dollar bills in his back pocket. How much would he pay for some insurance runs right now?
Oh, my.
2-1 in the ninth.
I think he'd pay for a little bit more to have some help later tonight, but he's got to do his part, which his club currently is doing.
Chavez will get Molina. Great battle. The MLB postseason begins Tuesday with the NL Wild Card on ESPN, and Wednesday with the AL Wild Card on TBS at 8 p.m. Eastern. Then Thursday, the National League Division Series begins on FS1 and the Fox Sports app.
Here we go. Here we go.
Got a guy running here again as the updated look at the standings. The Rockies are in. They're hoping to win the West. The Dodgers trying to stave off the Cardinals and still think they can win the West. The Cardinals have to win today and get help. And the Cubs have a 1-game lead on the Brewers. Both teams are in the postseason. That's how to play. So the picture is not all that clear just yet. And it looks like Carlos Martinez will get the bottom of the ninth. The 0-2 is fouled upstairs.
I got to be honest, with the temperature, I'm a little concerned about the ball guy, the man that is wowing the crowd. Hamstrings. A lot of squats, a lot of getting up and down, and just spurts of energy like you've never seen.
Chavez strikes out Jerko. Two away here in the Cardinal ninth. And it will be up to Harrison Bader. This will reach the seats. Nick Collins is our man. And getting a little bit of a breather here. It's like a post-game interview right after the game ends.
Yeah.
It's good, man.
I got to thank the pitchers for creating a lot of foul balls. I also like to thank the hitters for doing their part. Two and one between the national anthem that started this thing off. Didn't set a record today, did he? It's 26 seconds.
Yeah, John Vincent held the big note for 27 seconds at the end of the song. Just a second or two off of his all-time record. Set in the postseason last year. 2-2 to Bader. Swing and a miss. Chavez goes 1-2-3. Here we go. Carlos Martinez trying to save the Cardinals season. Must win for St. Louis to stay in the wild card picture. And Carlos Martinez, who threw the first pitch of the Cardinals season as their opening day starter. 3 stints on the DL, and he's trying for the save today.
Well, this is what it's all about. Everybody knows you don't play against time. The crowd knows it's it. The guy that comes in to try to get the last 3 outs, hardest 3 outs to get. Carlos is trying to get that right now.
So just a one-hopper right to DeYoung. And a low throw dug out by Carpenter. Carpenter, the subject of our Flipping the Switch, sponsored by Boost Mobile. That's the go-ahead hit. RBI single in the 5th inning.
Stayed right up the middle, and of course this run has held up. Bader was able to score.
Now Anthony Rizzo. This is a 1-swing ball game. Wind is blowing in. And the pitch is a strike. Well, you've done both, starting and relieving. What's the mindset for Carlos Martinez?
Well, in this, every pitch is an opportunity to tie the game up, so you can't just rely on your velocity. And, you know, the ability to pitch around guys has got to be a mindset too if the count doesn't go in your favor. So the last 3 outs, I don't care what anyone says, are the hardest 3 outs to get consistently over 162 games.
Rizzo grounds to Colton Wong just into the game, and 2 quick outs.
And I got to say, you know, for Miles Michaelis to do what he did, 99 pitches, he got strikeouts or swings and misses with fastballs 5 times, 5 curveballs, 5 sliders. He had an array of pitches and kept this lineup for the Cubs at bay with 2 outs here in the ninth.
Everybody on their feet. Cubs fans and some Cardinal fans in red as well. Martinez against Baez. Over 40,000 in the friendly confines today. 2 outs, nobody on, 9th inning. The pitch. In the center. This should do it. Bader's got it. And the Cardinals are still alive in the wild card chase. What a performance by Miles Michaelis today. And Carlos Martinez, no drama in the ninth.
That might be the fastest save I've seen under the circumstances of baseball. And 5 pitches, got the save. You mentioned everything that was here. I'm sure there's a ton of Brewers players in the clubhouse that were watching this game as well.
Yep, a lot of interest in that game, and the Dodgers and the Giants as well. So Michaelis over Hamels. Cole Hamels pitched very well, takes a tough loss, and the Cardinals are alive. That will wrap things up. Coming up next, we will send it back to the studio for post-game coverage. Once again, Cardinals 2, Cubs won the final from Chicago.